Hey everyone, my name is Neil Karski, and I'm the CEO of Patient Engine, a seven-figure digital marketing, lead conversion, and coaching agency for high-ticket aesthetics providers. And I would like to personally welcome you to the Aesthetics Millionaires Show, where we sit down with industry entrepreneurs to talk about their personal journeys and discuss proven growth strategies. My genuine hope is that through this podcast, we can create more success stories in this industry and help more business owners scale past their competition. Enjoy the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, another amazing episode of Aesthetics Millionaire Show. Today, I'm joined in her 70s retro outfit, Jessica Barclay. She's the co-founder and owner of Thrive in Wheeling, West Virginia, in the middle of the Appalachian. Jessica, what's going on? What are you guys doing today at your spa?
Hey, so it's Halloween week, and yesterday we were 80s. You missed it. And we didn't get you the memo today about being 70s. So I'm all tricked out in my bell bottoms. I did take off my piece earrings, so I be a little more evergreen.
Yeah, I got the pink behind me, so we're good.
Okay, yeah, you're rocking it. Yeah.
Well, let's dive into it. How did you get into wellness, aesthetics? Tell us a little bit more about maybe the beginnings also of your entrepreneurial journey.
Okay. So I always say that we started a med spa by accident, and that is the truth. I grew up in the family pet business, so my family's always been entrepreneurial, and we had a bird store and puppy store when I was a kid, which was a long time ago. And I learned to sell from my mom. She was a single mom, and it was just me and her, and we had to hustle to make it work. So I don't really know anything different than doing that. Left the family pet business after a while and got into convenience store sales. So I was a sales rep for a company covering several states and perfected sales skills there. And then kind of missed the family pet business, got back into it a little bit, ended up in a dog hotel business. So we own 3 pet hotels and dog daycares in Ohio and West Virginia. And at 2, decided that was enough. We love it, we do it well, but we make it look easy, and it's a 365-day-a-year business. So at the climax of 2, we kind of took a break, and we had established teams. I started taking care of myself and falling in love even more with wellness, cryotherapy, float, infrared sauna, things like that. I was a stranger to things aesthetic, so I did not really know anything about that. But one thing led to another, and there were some vacant buildings in the city of Wheeling. It was in the middle of a revitalization project, and we accidentally started an alternative wellness spa. I'm going to say we hoist the sails and follow the wind. It kind of took us with it, and we were in business with 5 services. After that, we did end up opening a 3rd dog daycare. That was also by accident. That's another podcast, probably. And we started with the 5 services. We had float, cryo, sauna, red light, and IV. And then we started with an M-Sculpt and Emcella. That was kind of a leap for us. And then before long, we were all the way in it. So we're hormones, weight loss, Botox, filler, full body contouring, for full facial rejuvenation. We have, I think, 38 services now, which is a lot. And we're doing it. We're doing the unthinkable in Wheeling, West Virginia.
Well, we skipped through so many
We,
things,
d- we did. I'm old.
but I appreciate you walking us through this quickly. So you started as a quintessential wellness place, right? Like a wellness spa,
Yeah.
which I like, kind of biohacking type of stuff. And that, I think that when you started is probably when it started to become really popular, or more widely popular. I'm not sure so much in your market, but
No, not at all.
maybe you made it popular. Maybe you're like, hey guys, come on over,
Yeah.
check this out. This is gonna blow your mind.
Yep.
So you were a wellness spa, and let's talk about the pieces of your journey. So let's talk about the wellness spa. Was it successful? Was it not? What were some of the positive lessons and some of the challenges? Then let's dive into the adding of body and aesthetic stuff, and how that transformed your business and what kind of helped you pull the trigger, because it's a big investment. And then let's talk about scale and growth from there.
Okay. Yeah. So we started, nobody had heard of cryotherapy. And, it's like, what are these girls doing? We're the only occupied building on our block. And there were these little glimmers of hope of revitalization of wheeling. My first job when I was 12 years old is right down the street. So I've always loved wheeling. I've always wanted it to bounce back to its, thriving, to be honest. And so to be a small part of that was kind of a neat idea. I don't think I get the normal fear gene that most people get. So I tend to kind of be very, very optimistic, probably sometimes toxically optimistic, but I've always figured out how to make it work. And so we started with those sessions, and kind of figuring out our memberships. Where do we want our pricing to be? We got a lot of early adopters who, at the time, we had a lot of time on our hands. So we would feature those people on social media, and that would create excitement, and they'd bring their friends. And so it was a success, just even with the 5 services. Do I think those 5 services probably could have sustained us since 2019? Probably not. Probably not. So it was, but people would talk and say, do you have anything more for detox? Or do you do massage? Do you do this? Do you do that? And, bit by bit, when you're in this business, you start getting exposed to everything that's possible. And some things I'd say, oh, I don't like the idea of that. And others I was intrigued by. So we just turn the money back into the business as quickly as we could so that we can grow and add another service and another service and another service.
When you were doing wellness stuff, what kind of marketing did you do? And then how are you able to make money? Was it just through a sheer volume of memberships?
So it's funny because my overhead was a lot lower then. Like what we were making in revenue then is my device payments now. So, we've scaled it quite a bit. But back then, it really was like, hey, Neil, you're coming to do your first cryotherapy. We're going to take some pictures of you to share it on social media. And before you get out, make sure you step close to the glass so we can take pictures of your frosty eyelashes too. And then people would get excited and they'd share it. So that was really, we didn't do a lot of paid advertising. I would say we built a lot of hype before we opened and then kept that hype going. At the time, my partner and I were, she's my life partner also, we were the main ones working. So that energy obviously made it a little more contagious. So we were able to be present and not have to pass that building of the business to someone else.
Yeah.
So, so not a lot of paid in the beginning.
Yeah, yeah. No, it took. I mean, I've had people scale. I've had many clients too who scaled organically to 100,000, and I think that it's just the times too. The times are dictating what's working then, and what type of area you were in. I think it's easier to build. I don't know if it's easier. Well, it's relatively easier to build an organic following and kind of the word of mouth pass through when you're in a smaller community versus cities like Chicago and New York where there's more med spas than coffee shops, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so how much revenue were you doing at that point? What were some of the key lessons that helped you guys take the leap and say, okay, we got to add some type of aesthetic equipment to get this thing to the next level?
Yeah. So we were doing, I think back then, 25,000 a month, and that was pretty big deal. And I also will say that it was crazy. it's crazy to do this in Wheeling, West Virginia. It's crazy to do it as the only occupied building. So
Can
some
you
people
tell our
just,
listeners about Wheeling, West Virginia for a second? So we have the right context of what you're doing, because I think it's pretty unique.
yeah. So we are a riverfront town. It's a city, I guess. I can see Ohio from the front door across the river. We are about 27,000 people, and $41,000 is the average income. So we're pretty much poverty stricken. But that's an average. So we have a lot of people that are below that. We have a lot of people that are way above that, and those people find us. Um, I also think that people wanted hope for something different. We're very much driven by pharmaceutical medications here and opioids, and the whole thing was just broken. So people would be on meds from their doctor. They were pretty much hopeless. I've got back pain. I don't have any energy. I can't function hardly. I feel terrible. And so this bright spot with these two crazy girls popping up with a cryotherapy spa with some other services sounded pretty intriguing. So I think just having hope in the community that there was something different. Biohacking really wasn't a term. And just the idea that we could do something different than traditional medicine, I think was a little ahead of its time. I think COVID helped people decide how they feel about that, but this is just pre-COVID that we went in, and they loved it. So the people that came, I had a UPS guy that was coming every day. He'd tell people, and it was like happy hour in here. People would meet new people. They'd have to sit around and wait for services. So they would talk to each other. And then I had customers selling other customers. So they'd say, "Oh, what do you do here?" And, "Oh, I do the cryo. I'm scared to do that." "Oh, you got to do it. Just put on the music. It's only 3.5 minutes." And boy, they'd get each other going, and we'd just smile and help them along in their journey. And then I think that we built a lot of know like trust in that time, and people started to feel better, and they were looking to us for the next thing. What else should I do? What else should I do? And we had to hurry and figure that out.
Yeah. And what made you guys like want to do, add the BTL devices, and how did you, what was like, was there a strategy behind it? Was there an expectation of like, hey, we're going to add these devices. We kind of have, a pool of clients already in expressing interests. Let's talk about that, because I think that was like a really transitional point in your business where you were going from wellness into wellness and aesthetics.
Yeah. So I told you I'm crazy, and I haven't been hit with the fear gene that everybody else has, so I tend to be a little bit ready, fire, aim. There was no strategy. I talked to a friend of mine who lives. She's a physician, and she lives part-time in Wheeling, part-time in Scottsdale. And she texted me and said, "Hey, have you heard of M Sculpt?" This was M Sculpt Classic. It was before Neo was out. And I said, "No." And she said, "The Kardashians are doing it out here. It's all the rage. I think you should look at it." So I called in to the company and ended up on the phone with who is still my BTL contact. We've developed a great friendship over the years. And so he brought the M Sculpt down, and she and I demoed it. And while we're laying there on the table trying to learn about what this thing does, we said, "Well, what else does your company do?" And when he described Emsella and said it was for urinary incontinence and that you could actually do 11,000 Kegels in 28 minutes without getting undressed and help urinary incontinence and pelvic floor, the doctor lit up and said, "Oh my gosh, I have 10 clients a day that would need that." And so 3 days later on Christmas Eve, he brought the Emsella chair down to demo. I signed on both. Interestingly enough, I didn't do a lot of research. So M Sculpt Classic, this is why I fire before I aim. M Sculpt Classic was, at the time, I weighed 250 pounds. And so I was all excited about M Sculpt coming, but I didn't realize that it really should be on a lower BMI. And so as we're waiting on the device, we've got the banners up, we're talking about it. I have all these girls coming in that are built like I was. And they said, "Oh, I want to do M Sculpt." And I said, "Well, we really aren't the right size for that, but we've got a chair coming." And they're like, "No, no, what about cellulite?" I'm like, "No, I don't have anything for cellulite, but maybe we can all go on a diet and lose weight and we can do M Sculpt then and have great results." And that really didn't land well. So when they came for training, they came for training for MCella and M Sculpt. I talked to my trainer from BTL and I said, "What are we going to do about the fat problem? Like, I'm too fat to get a good result. And like, we've got a fat burning issue. We got to solve that problem." And she said, "Oh, well, we have a radio frequency device that'll take care of that for major fat debulking." So we started talking about what was then the Vanquish. And I said, "Well, what about cellulite? Because these girls that are built like me want cellulite." And she said, "That's M-tone." So at training, I signed on 2 more devices. And then all 4 arrived. Actually, the last 2 arrived during the lockdown. So I thought for sure I'd really screwed up. And so we had no choice coming out of COVID but to figure out those 4 devices, how to sell them, how they all work together. And we weren't going to take no for an answer. So we just buckled down and figured it out. Then I'll go a little further in October. Sorry. My apologies. In October, so we came down from lockdown in May. We started trying to figure it out. We're slinging bodies and figuring out how to do all these services and how they work together. And then in October, the BTL rep called me and he said, "Hey, there's a new device coming out. I think you should come to Chicago." And I'm like, "No, buddy, I'm telling you, we have got our hands full with the 4 we bought." And he said, "No, I think you need to see this." So I went to Chicago. I trusted him. And they launched M Sculpt Neo. And so I traded my M Sculpt in for M Sculpt Neo with another $100,000 loan. And then we were in the M Sculpt Neo business. And so they took my M Sculpt back. I got my M Sculpt Neo. I loved the idea that we could treat someone without having to talk about them being too big. So that kind of opened up more client base for us without the conversation. And we were in the M Sculpt Neo business. 5 months later, I bought a second because it was so busy that I couldn't get demos done. So 2 M Sculpt Neos later. Now we own the whole BTL suite, and everything kind of took off from there. Crazy.
Well, let's talk about that. So how did you market it? How did you learn how to sell it? That's even just as important, right? I know that you can have great devices, but devices don't pay the bills, right? It's sales that pay the bills. It's solving clients' pain points that pay the bills. And I know a lot of my clients have BTL suite of services and products as well. But how are you able to really ramp that up from selling it to or promoting it to your existing client base, and then attracting new clients as well, and really converting your investment into materialistic revenue for your business? I think that's probably what propelled your business forward a lot. So I would love to just hear a little bit more on that side of the things, because in this podcast, I don't talk a lot about getting clients results, which I think it's important to get your clients results. Otherwise, you're not gonna have the social proof. You're not gonna have happy clients. You're not gonna get referrals. You're not gonna get people to come back. But let's talk about the sales and marketing of this new chapter of Thrive Wheeling.
Okay. And I did lose you for a half a second, but I think I have a pretty good idea of what you are asking for. So we did do paid advertising. That was the beginning of our entry into paid advertising with an agency, dumping those leads into a CRM where they would get worked and appointments would get booked. As far as the learning how to be successful, I've just I'm still learning and still figuring it out, but we've got a pretty great track record, so happy to share it with anyone. Um, One of the things that we found in the beginning, we at the beginning did not have the results I was hoping for, and I realize now it's client selection and preparation, but I didn't totally understand what I needed to be doing at the time. And they tell us that in training, but I don't know, some parts of it just didn't stick on me. So at some point along the way, I ended up buying their competitor, Venus, so that I could treat even more parts of body contouring. And I realize now I probably didn't need to do that, although we love all of our devices. So one of the things that we really loved about having an agency do our Facebook ads and having those leads be nurtured by either a real person or an auto bot was that it really acted, that mode of advertising, like you do, really acts like another office person and an exceptional office person. So we did not have trouble with, we didn't have to teach someone from brand new. That was kind of a plug and play opportunity. So we just, once we got the people in here, we'd really help them understand the devices, help them understand what was possible. I think really important was getting our own photos. Using the manufacturer photos works for a minute, but not really well. People want to know, like, this person lives in Wheeling and look at their great results and look at my mother-in-law and look at my pictures. So I think that's super important on success. I also think we ended up creating a document. We started to put together that anyone who had disappointing results, there was consistent themes. So they weren't eating protein, they weren't hydrated, they weren't moving, they were drinking a bottle of red wine every night. And so we ended up taking that information and creating a questionnaire that we hit them with after they purchase. It basically says, okay, you've made this investment in your well-being. There are some items that we know can lead to success and that ultimately can lead to your failure if you're not in the right spot on them. So this is our next conversation, and it's an interview style self-evaluation of how am I doing in each of these areas of opportunity for wellness. So for example, drinking alcohol. A was, I don't have a problem with this, I don't need any support. B is, I struggle with this a little bit and I could use some support. And C is, I'm terrible at this, I know I need to change it if I'm going to be successful with my investment. And then we did that for this questionnaire for hydration, and we did it for movement, and we did it for protein. And then once we got those answers from the client, we could use that information every visit to say, okay, Neil, how are you doing with drinking the red wine every night? And if Neil's still drinking the red wine every night, we log that.
Why you got to call me out like that on my own podcast?
I know, right? Drink the water, not the wine. Yeah. And so, we utilize that to shift their behavior. We kind of nag them about it, but we also document it in their records. And so I remember a lady, she wasn't giving up the wine, she wasn't giving up the carbs, she wouldn't eat the protein, she wasn't hydrated, and her results were lackluster. And for us to be able to say, listen, we talked to you about this on October 2nd, we talked again on October 12th, we talked again on October 20th, like, I, I can't, I'm sorry your results weren't what you wanted, but you didn't do what we told you to do. So that was big for us. We rarely
How
have
did people respond to that? How are you able to kind of de-escalate these types of situations where we're holding people accountable? Because I do think that everything we do outside of our, outside of our treatments, right? I have 3 body sculpting studios, and I know that we say, hey, like, at least do 3 out of these 10 things, right? Like, here's the most important ones. It's your body that does the work, not the devices. The devices are stimulators and accelerators. So it's your body that's honestly doing the work. So you got to be supporting the body in some ways, right? Otherwise, you're kind of you're really just relying on the stimulation, which by itself, in my opinion, is probably not enough unless you don't need a lot of support. So I think the coaching, the basic coaching and training is huge, right?
Yeah.
And I do think that most people need the accountability. They also need in-person support and a community around them. I think a lot of people honestly probably go to med spas too, just because it's like a little bit of a getaway for them. It's peace of mind, and then they have their providers who become their friends, and it just becomes a positive ritual for them. So I also believe in that, and I think that obviously helps our retention. But from your standpoint, holding people accountable to these protocols, like sometimes people, you know, I don't want to say get offended, but they definitely get defensive in some ways. So how were you able, because you said that helped clients get better results. How, what kind of mechanisms you guys put in place and frameworks to make sure that there was that accountability, but also like clients were, you were able to retain clients?
Yeah, so I think I totally agree with you on that this becomes a social event for them. And I do think that we're dealing with fundamentally all people have some element of loneliness. And so recognizing that we're caring for the whole person, heart, mind, body, and soul, not just their abs, I think is important. So I think it's important to be accountable, but also gentle. So like I always tell my team, like, do the Cocker Spaniel head tilt, be soft and breathy when you're talking about her red wine consumption. And just like, hey, I just want you to get the best results ever. And we talked about the fact that this is gonna maybe slow down your progress or maybe not get you what you invested in. So how can we help you do better with this? And wine's a little difficult because if we're truly dealing with an alcoholism issue, that's different than you need to drink your 8 glasses of water a day. Um, but I think too, I'm going to add two more things to that convo because I don't want to lose them. We did start adding lymphatic drainage after every session, so we put everyone on a shaker plate for 10 minutes, and that seemed to make a tremendous impact. And then the other thing is, we really require would be a strong word, but almost require every client to buy a topical product for, if it's face, obviously it's going to be medical grade skincare. If it's body, some kind of like Alaskan Transform or the ZO Body Duo. And we also require them to be on a collagen supplement, and we have a great collagen supplement. And we just say, hey, we approach this three ways. You're here for a procedure, but what you do at home is going to have a huge impact. So we really want you to be on this, and we really want you to be on this in order for you to get your best results. And then when we're posting befores and afters, we try to put that information in there too. So that just makes it a little more compelling. Like, I want you to have a great result for your 5,000 or 8,000 or $15,000 investment. Don't get skimpy when it comes to the collagen.
How did you get from selling $100 memberships, wellness memberships, to the mindset of selling three, four, five, 10, $15,000 holistic treatment plans? Because this is where I want all my clients to go. I think this is where the most successful practices in the U.S. are. This is where your ROI is going to be the best. This is where your clients are going to get the best results. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, let's talk about it because it is mindset, and you're right. Like, I've had people reach out to me and they say, "Well, I bought it and I don't know, I'm not sure." And that whole "I don't know, I'm not sure" energy leaks out to the client. So I would say in the beginning, I probably had that, a little cross your fingers, be brave, hope it works. Especially when we sure didn't know what we were doing. But you have to keep learning and you have to cling to the people who are doing it. So I think some people buy a device, they get online and they go into Facebook and they say, "Oh, do you have this device?" And there's 100 people saying, "Oh, I didn't do well with it." And there's two people saying it kills it for us. You have to find those two people, and you have to figure out what they're doing, figure out what makes them successful. I was fortunate enough to reach out to my rep when I was feeling uncertain, and they connected me with people who were killing it. And I pretty much followed them around like a puppy, and they helped me be more successful. And then more success breeds more success. So we have to stick together, those who are doing it and those who are committed to doing it, because it is my certainty that this is going to work for you. And now we have the track record. Now we know that if you do what we tell you to do and the way we tell you to do it, that you're going to have a great result. And once we knew that, the whole world opened up. In the beginning, it was all me, and then our providers, so other providers would provide. And then I started bringing them into the consultations, and then they started kind of pick up steam and start coming out of treatment room with more sales. And so when they'd come out with more sales, they'd get excited. So eventually they got to go be in consultations on their own. And so now we have several people that make sales. Some of them are already sold before they even get in the door because our team's so excited about our results that we can't quit talking about them. You know, we've added ExoMind to the party. We of course have MFace. We have all the BTL stuff and a lot of other services. So once you love what we do as an employee, you just can't stop talking about it. And then you get swept up in the hype. It is definitely a swept up feeling once you're here. And like it's how can you not? Like why and we've just actually figured out a tier structure with pricing. I'm happy to talk about that too. But a tier structure with pricing where the more BTL services you buy, the lower your price gets. And so someone comes in, they're looking for a cellulite treatment. We sell them M-tone, but we talk with them about Neo and the importance of being functional, having functional wellness and muscle, and how great that is for your core. And by the way, do you pee your pants when you cough, laugh, or sneeze? And hey, how's your brain? And now we're in. It's we're treating the whole body.
How do you educate people in your area? And I don't want to talk bad about anybody because there's nothing bad to talk about, but in markets like this that aren't as sophisticated or are maybe up to par speed with like new tech and wellness and there's not that up to date education on some of these different things, whereas in some of these, calling it an OC, everybody knows everything about everything biohack and wellness, right? Miami, markets like that. How are you able to adjust that and accommodate your local audience that probably needs a lot of these things, obviously, because you've helped so many people, but maybe they don't, they haven't considered it at this point, or maybe they don't know a lot about it.
Yeah, so I really think that also comes down to we went through a stage where there were people on our team who kind of hunted and others who farmed. So some were the salespeople and some were the providers. I don't think where we're headed now, that is not okay. Because if you're a provider and you're not expected to make sales, which was our old model, and a person is on the table for a facial and they groan getting up, there's 10 things we need to be talking about. We need to talk about core strength. We need to talk about sore muscles. We need to talk about M-Sculpt Neo. We have to talk about Mcella. We have to talk about Shockwave. We need, like, what is going on? What made you groan when you get up? Cryotherapy, all those things. And if you're a provider, but you're not wired for listening in that way, I say wired for sales, you're going to deny the patient the opportunity to be well and deny the opportunity for Thrive to be the one to help them. And so it really now comes down to it's not about really if you can sell, even though that's what it turns into. It's can you connect the dots for a client on how we can help them live better, perform better, feel better, all those things, sleep better. And if you can't connect the dots as a provider, it really doesn't matter how great of a facial you give because you're leaving part of the client unserved. And that's not okay with us. So I would say I don't exactly remember your question, but I know it led me to that answer of you've got to be able to connect the dots for the client. So, you see someone walking with a cane, they came in for something different. Let's talk about the 5 ways we can help you be stronger and maybe even make you less reliant on that cane and less likely to fall.
Yeah, I think I was just more. I think you're answering a good chunk of the question. I was just thinking, in the market that you're in, where there's lack of education and lack of
Oh,
knowledge
yeah.
about some of the technologies and services that you provide, and it's I know markets like that actually demand generation, like meta ads do really well because people are like they have potentially specific pain points, but they never even knew that there was a provider like that potentially in their area, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe they see it as a sign that's like, hey, I need to, maybe this is my time to actually look into this, right? Which is
Yeah.
pretty cool. But I'm thinking, like Wheeling, West Virginia, like ExoMind, or like non-invasive body sculpting, like those are some of the things people would, I mean, those words would never come out of their mouths in a sense, right? So is there anything else besides simplicity and just asking the right questions in different areas that you guys have been able to implement to really cater the marketing and the sales and just the customer relationship development to bridge that gap?
So I would say again, being loudmouths, and that is coordinating with agencies like yours, making sure that my just normal Facebook is loud in all ways about. So ExoMind is the perfect example. We got ours the end of March, and by the beginning of June, we were the number one ExoMind in the country out of 300 plus devices. I don't know where we land right now, but it's pretty good. And so it's just being able to hit it so many different ways. We hit it, we did some newspaper articles, we did some online news sources, um, we told everyone coming in, and we put the entire team on it so that they kept, again, can't stop talking about it. And I would say that truly that's been the best launch of anything we've done, is just multifaceted omnipresence of this exo mind is just everywhere they look. And backed up by things like what you're doing and figuring out, how to get everyone who walks in the door, everyone with a brain is a candidate for exo mind. And it's fabulous. And we can't quit talking about it. So here we are. And we had, at the time, we had 300 people a week coming in for weight loss injections. So that's a lot of people to introduce a new service to. And it was like a party in here. It was great. Now we don't have that foot traffic because we're offloading our weight loss, but we still have the audience online.
Yeah. So just to kind of start wrapping things up slowly, you were a wellness business, you added aesthetics, then you added more devices, then you added more wellness stuff to complete the full suite of services to be able to solve multiple pain points for a client so you could actually keep them there in your business, keep them happy, keep them engaged, keep them coming back, keep solving their pain points. You guys transitioned your mindset from selling memberships and just doing wellness to really big high ticket treatment plans. You bought your staff into those things where they were able to, where they were just confident about and excited about selling. That's huge, 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 huge. And I think you obviously created a good culture there, but you've also been able to bridge the gap with the local audience, the local market. Just invest a lot in marketing, whether it's organic and paid advertising, to make sure that you are the spot within God knows how many miles of Thrive. Wheeling, West Virginia, guys. Google Wheeling, West Virginia. I had to Google it. I live in Appalachian too, but in a little bit of a different setting. But it's a beautiful place. And now let's kind of start wrapping things up. What's the next move? Like, what's the next move? How do you dominate further? I mean, we can always keep growing. What's the next move, Jessica?
So it's I take a personality test for work behaviors, and I'm listed as a daredevil. And this is a very non-daredevil kind of answer, but We actually are aiming for stability at this point. So, when you grow super fast, and although it's been 6 years, it seems like a long time, but we added a lot really, really fast. And we're shifting. I told you we're going to be eliminating the weight loss piece, and we've had some staff turnover too. So we've had some culture issues, but I think really standing for what excellence is and knowing that we have to provide it, it's non-negotiable, has helped me make the choices for the right people for the team, or help people choose to come off the team. So I'd say next is just continue to do well what we're doing. We've got some new technology data coming out on Neo and Mcella and ExoMind all combined. And so we're going to be able to grow even within that department without adding any more devices. I do have enough devices that I could probably have two facilities. So who knows? Maybe you'll hear about a second location in the future. But right now we're just doing it here in Wheeling, West Virginia.
Awesome, Jessica. Where can people find you if they want to connect with you, if they want to network with you, if they want to come to Wheeling, West Virginia for a quick vacation and a little wellness retreat?
Yeah, so we have great parks, so it's a great place to come. Um, thrivewheeling.com is our website, and we are on social. We have two Facebook pages. That's kind of a different story, but two Facebook pages, either one's great, and an Instagram at Thrive WHG. And then personally, if you'd like to connect with me, you're welcome to put my contact information in the show notes if you want. I do think that I do help other practices get successful with their current devices. I don't like to call myself a coach or consultant, but it's different when you're doing it. People just need help. So if somebody needs help, you can reach out. We'll put something together and figure out how to get you successful. So I'd say that's probably next. But yeah, you can put my contact info in personally.
Sounds good. Ladies and gentlemen, Jessica Barclay with Thrive Wheeling. We appreciate you coming on the show.
Thanks. Have a great day.